Hi, and welcome back to Enneahouse. I'm Jeremy, your licensed Enneagram professional. As always, my wife Shirley is here with me.
Hello.
And today we are going to talk about Enneagram Type 3, the achiever. I like to call them the water type because, like water, they can be calm and serene, or they can be tempestuous and powerful. They erode the obstacles in their way, and they also take the shape of their container. They like to adapt the way they look so that people will like them. These are a lot of the CEOs, the presidents, the people who are large and in charge. They look for power and they try to fit into those roles as best they possibly can. So, what questions do you have about Type 3, Shirley?
Well, just going off of what you were saying about the fitting their container, they're the ones who don't dress for the job they have, but dress for the job they want to have.
Yes. In fact, a lot of the slogans we have about hard work or about jobs or resumes come from people who were or are Type 3s. Because Type 3s are the people who are hardworking, they are very diligent, they are very dedicated, they have very specific goals, and they work toward those goals with a passion, kind of like a river that is undeviating from its course.
So they can keep a team real focused.
They can, but it's important to recognize that Type 3s do have deep emotions. They are the center of our emotional triad.
Oh, yeah.
And so Type 3s do put on a face of, I am stoic and taciturn, I am unflappable. But in reality, 3s can actually be very sensitive and vulnerable.
So they're like our giant teddy bears.
Yes, many 3s are like giant teddy bears, and some people only see them as grizzly bears.
Oh.
When in reality, to use Pokemon terms, many 3s are like Ursaring that didn't realize that they have evolved yet. And so 3s have deep emotions, and it takes them a very long time to process them because they fear being seen as having emotions. They fear the weakness of being seen to cry or to emote. And so as a team member or a team player, it can be very hard when a boss or someone who's under you says something very hard. This can take a 3 a very long time to work their way through. In fact, a lot of 3s are known to even leave their jobs because somebody said something that was harsh. They don't do it to be flaky. They just do it because not only are they looking for power and prestige, they are also looking for respect. Respect is exceedingly important to 3s, and when people say mean things to them, they internalize them deeply.
Yeah, because they seem like the last type I would think of as flaky. So they're driven by this need to what?
They're driven by a need to achieve and to be seen to achieve. They believe that only by reaching the top will they provide the best for themselves, will they provide the best for their family, that they'll provide the best for the people that they serve. They believe that the world needs what they can provide, and the world needs all that they can provide. So they believe also that their everything is required to be part of that piece of that puzzle. So we talked about 1s being the perfectionist. In this sense, 3s have a perfectionism, but it's different. Rather than 1s who want to make sure that their puzzle piece fits exactly, 3s don't feel their puzzle piece is big enough or good enough until it has padded its resume with all the reasons why it is exactly the right piece to fit the puzzle.
So I'm sure with that type of mentality, there must be a lot of famous 3s.
There are a lot of famous 3s, for good and for ill. 3s are a type that people either know and love or know and fear, because 3s do bulldoze through their trials. They are like big snowplows. They see a target and they go for it. They don't halt. That's why I call them water, is because when they see a big boulder in the way, they are slow and methodical at eroding away that boulder until the stream can go right through it. Mm-hmm. And because of that, some people do fear Type 3s. But Type 3s don't put themselves out there to be feared. They want to be respected because of their quality. And so when people say, I don't want to talk to you because you scare me, they may not say it with their words, but they say it with their faces. This can hurt that teddy bear heart that says, but I'm friendly. I just wanted to go play a round of golf. A lot of 3s are very into fun activities that they can share with families. They're very family oriented, or they're very community oriented, but at the same time, a lot of times the families and communities see them as big and tough.
Aww. I'm sure if you chip away at that exterior, they are just cuddly.
Yeah, my dad is a Type 3, and my dad has a beautiful singing voice. And
I do love hearing him sing.
a lot of the time when I was growing up, people would know my dad, and eventually, after some years of knowing him and hearing him talk in public and hearing his confidence eking out of every pore, his experience. Threes love to get experience, and they love to do schooling because they believe that having a degree says, in paper, I am an expert in this field. When they hear my dad speak, they say, wow, there's a man who knows his stuff. He's a scary dude. Then they hear him sing like an angel. They say, we didn't know that you had a sensitive side. He says, really? I thought that I always had a sensitive side.
I know he was the most excited when we gave him grandkids.
This is very true. Threes, as I said, are very family oriented. They don't tend to realize how tough they come across. People see them as, when in reality they're just, give me a hug.
Yeah. Well, I do love our threes, but from the sound of it, while they sound intimidating, I'm sure they must. So do they fear being intimidating?
They do, in a sense, but what they really fear is being seen as having weakness. Oh. They fear not accomplishing. They fear not doing their best. They fear their children and their children's children not doing their best. Most of all, they fear being seen to show weakness. They fear crying in public. They fear saying, I can't do this anymore. They fear what other people will say if they reach the end of their rope and they just can't go on anymore.
So with that type of mentality, what would the message that they got as kids be?
The message they got as kids is your achievement is only as good as your insert word here says, as your report card, as your diploma, as your resume. Your achievement is the measure of you. And because of that, they have a very strong commitment to academia. They have a very strong commitment to getting the best jobs. And they do tend to get itchy feet when they're stuck in one position at work or at school for a time.
I know we mentioned in an earlier video that they tend to be the ones that dominate the competitive side of the medical field.
Yes. So a lot of doctors are type 3. And this is not a bad thing. There's a reason that the medical field became a fiscally driven field. And that is because people who get into the medical field can't just do it out of the goodness of their heart. They have to do it because they have to have a willingness to
be the best.
Medical field is not something where they are allowed to make any mistakes.
So I'm sure if you were to have a brain surgeon, you'd probably want a 3 because they would be meticulous.
Yes. Unlike a type 1, again, who has their role. They're very driven by what is right and what is good. A 3 is very driven by accomplishment. And so the ability to say, I am now the best heart surgeon in the United States of America is something that really drives a lot of 3s. They say, I want to be the best, because if I am the best, then I will not get into trouble. I will not fail. I will not end up with problems with the legal system. People will understand when I fail. 3s are willing to accept failure if they have done everything they can. So in the case of something like a heart surgeons have to accept the fact that not everybody they operate on is going to make it. Having had heart surgery myself, I have a stent in my aorta, and I can tell you the heart surgeon who operated on me, I was very grateful that he was a man who said, I'm going to do this, but there is no guarantee that I'm going to succeed. It allowed him to make the necessary judgment calls that ultimately saved my life when I had minutes of time to spare. That's very, very important. A 1 in that position may perform well as well, but it depends on the level of their training. 3s oftentimes are very able to deal with the harsh rigors and harsh realities of a very competitive academic environment.
Well, this 9 wouldn't be able to handle that. I would hate any loss.
9s have the potential to become like that when they're in a good psychological state.
Ah, yes.
9 goes to 3 in a good psychological state, and as a reverse, 3 goes to 9. When the 3 pushes against that roadblock as water for a long, long time, but they never manage to erode it, they end up eroding the banks off to the side and kind of fizzling out. Why? Because when 3s have tried everything they can, when they've used all their strength, all their energy, there's just nothing left. And so they become soft and they become weak and ineffectual. I'm not trying to say that 9s are weak and ineffectual. I'm trying to say that those are negative traits that a 9 may represent. and that a 3 deeply fears becoming.
Well, I'll have to avoid those, personally.
On the other hand, when a 3 is in a positive psychological state, they are able to put aside their very narrow box of accomplishments and become loyal to the idea of a person.
So loyal, they become a 6?
Yes, they become 6. So let me show you an example. A 3 will have the idea, I need a PhD in order to be seen as academically smart. I need to be the CEO of a company. I need to be the president of my HOA. Whatever it is that they have in their very specific box that says, I've reached the top and had to stop. And in many cases, yes, that's what's bothering me. The 3, when they realize that their box is not what is necessary for everyone, that their son or their daughter or their nephew or their niece is not going to have the same box as them, they're able to recognize the value of that individual. They are also able to take more time for themselves and see the world less like a pyramid where only the best reach the top, and more like a pyramid where the hands that are at the bottom lift the top up. And this is a place that a lot of 3s will not get, but a lot of people do not reach a positive psychological state. That's not specific about 3s.
It's very hard to obtain
Very
that.
hard. But when a 3 does reach that state, it does sometimes require climbing down off their mental ladder and helping people on the bottom to lift. So what 3s really need sometimes is to get out of their own heads and recognize that no matter what they accomplish, there will always be someone out there who has accomplished something more, something better, something else. What they need to do is not accomplish what other people expect them to accomplish, but instead to accomplish what they need to accomplish. They need to take time for themselves, and they need to become open to their emotions. 3s have the great potential to be very empathetic, but they hide from it because they fear being seen as weak. This is especially true for male 3s, but female 3s can also become very closed off to the world as they say, I have to become a doctor, I have to become a lawyer or a surgeon or some other very high ranking professional, I have to become a CEO, and now that I've gotten here, I have to keep clawing my way up to continue.
So those scary seeming female CEOs are probably just really nice inside. They just keep it locked up.
I wouldn't say necessarily nice inside. Nobody is nice or mean. The natural tendency of type 3 is to expect things of people, and it's the expectations of 3s that others aspire to. So what 3s, whether they're male or female, in the CEO position are capable of doing is having people under them say, I want to achieve because my boss believes in me. So what we see in the case of some females is when they reach a certain age and they don't have family, they don't have friends, a lot of times they have to go against traditional family values to reach the position that they reach. They do oftentimes end up very sad and alone at the top. And this can be true for men too. Men may end up not having a wife or kids, and many a 3 CEO in their golden years has said, I wish that I'd spent less time at work and more time with my kids.
Well, I guess life's too short to have everything.
It is too short to have everything. The main question is, at what point in time do the people who you lead need you, and at what point in time do the people you love need you? Threes have a very hard time distinguishing between being needed for what they are, or for what they do, and being loved for who they are.
Oh, it would be nice if they could just find a perfect position where they can have both.
It would be nice, and that's the hard thing for type 3. My advice to type 3s is to take a day off, to spend time with your family, to just recognize that if you're not in the office, things are still going to happen. Things can still happen without you. And also to ask yourself, how important is it to me that I take the next conference call or that I take the next assignment versus what would it be like if I could go home a half an hour early? It can make all the difference in the world for a type 3, because once a type 3 starts saying, I'll work an extra half hour today, then the next day they might work another half hour after that, and another after that, and soon they're working long into the night. Threes burn the midnight oil, and that can be very dangerous for their psychology and for their physical health.
So I'm assuming that they can be taken advantage of for this hard work.
Everyone can be taken advantage of for different reasons. One way that threes can be taken advantage of is if they are promised a reward or a raise or a promotion, and then they say all you have to do is X, Y, and Z. Many threes will drive very hard for that X, Y, and Z. And so it's very important for those who are bosses, CEOs, leaders, parents of type threes to give them those rewards. Those rewards are not meaningless to them. They are not selfish. They're not trying to be self-driven. They're trying to accomplish because they feel that that is how they will become better for the organization, better for themselves, better for their families. And many threes have been broken when they've been told, oh, by the way, that promotion that you were promised, yeah, we gave it to somebody else.
Ooh. Ouch. So they are needed, even if they didn't get that promotion, which that would be a dirty trick, honestly.
Letting them know that they're needed doesn't often require words. It requires action with type threes. And it also requires just listening to them, because type threes do carry a lot of emotional baggage and they don't want to share it. So being an open source and saying, I'm here for you. It doesn't matter to me that you have 25 degrees. It doesn't matter to me that you've written an entire encyclopedia by yourself. It matters to me that you are a human and you have a human heart.
Aww. Well, I love our threes out there. I hope those of you who are listening have either thought of a three in your life, or maybe you are a three. So I invite you to go to our website, take the test, see if you're a three or one of the other 9 wonderful types that we have in this wonderful large world, and like, subscribe, and maybe even schedule an appointment to see this awesome guy here. I may be a little biased, but
Well, thank you, Shirley. And remember, whether you're a 3 or any other type, keep achieving, improve yourself, improve relationships, and improve the world. We'll see you next time as we talk about type 4, and have an awesome day.